We are in Avodah Zara. Mesechus Avodah Zara. Ches Amud Beis. Ches Amud Aleph, sorry. Ches Amud Aleph on the top. 3-day. We're talking about yesterday, the poor Nachum Hamadi. Nachum Hamadi, everything he said, they rejected it. So then we said, finally, he said something that they were going to accept. That was, Shoel Adam Tzrocha B'Shamei Tefillah. We said, beautiful, but it's not his Chiddush. We already know that. And we quoted a brisa. We started the brisa by saying that there's a machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua about whether you should daven and then ask your tzrachim, or you should ask your tzrachim and then daven Shmona Esrei. And then we said, seemingly for Moshe Rabbeinu, it seems like you should daven and then ask your tzrachim. So the opinion would say no. The other opinion would say no. Moshe Rabbeinu is different, because if we would daven and then ask for our tzrachim, if we would praise Hashem and then ask for our tzrachim, it would look like it would look like we're just praising Him because we want to ask for tzrachim. But either way, the Chachamim omrim on the third line, lo kedivrei zeh, v'lo kedivrei zeh. The Chachamim say like neither one of them. The Chachamim say, they don't say daven and then ask and then daven. What do they say? Ela shoel adam tzracha b'shamei tefillah. They said you ask in the middle of the davening. Who's that? That's Nachum Hamadi. That's where you see the Chachamim who hold, or the Chachamim who hold what Nachum Hamadi holds as well. And therefore, when we said that Nachum Hamadi, the poor guy, finally had something to his name, it's not really to his name. The Chachamim had said it beforehand. Says the Gemara, Amar Yehuda Berei de Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas Mishmei de Rav. Afal pisha armu shoel adam tzracha b'shamei tefillah avalim balo mar besov kol brachu bracha me'ein kol brachu bracha omer. If, even though we said that you could and you should ask for your tzrachim b'shamei tefillah, at the end of the day, if you're looking for something specific that pertains to one of the other brachos of Shmona Esrei, you could ask for it in that bracha. So for instance, if you have trouble understanding Gemara, so you could ask in Chonei Das, in the bracha of Chonei Das, you could ask for help in understanding Gemara. As Rashi says, if you're in the middle of doing tshuva for something, so in Hashivenu Avinu L'Sorasecha Harotze B'tshuva, you can ask that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give you help in doing tshuva. Amar Rav Chia Barashi Amar Rav Afa Pisha Amru Shoel Adam Tzracha B'Shamei Tefillah Im Yesh Lo Chola B'Soch Beis Omer B'Birchas Cholim V'Im Tzarech LeParnasa Omer B'Birchas Hashanim. And that's again the same idea, that by refu you would say in Rifa'enu, and by Parnasa you would say in Berach Hashanim. It's interesting because we do have a paragraph in Rifa'enu for refu on the bottom, but we don't have a paragraph, as far as I know, in Barich Hashanim for Parnasa. We have that paragraph for Parnasa in Shomei Tefillah. If you look at the Siddurim in Shomei Tefillah, there is a paragraph for Parnasa. That's interesting. But over here, he would say that really the appropriate place to ask for Parnasa would be in Birchas Hashanim in Barich Aleinu. Zak the Gemara, Amr Bishor ben Levi, Afa Pisha Amru Shoel Adam Tzracha B'Shomei Tefillah. Furthermore, Lava Imba Lomar Achar Tefillah, so Afilu Keseda Yom HaKippurim Omer. If you want to go ahead and you want to ask, even at the end of davening, and there's a whole discussion, do you say it before or after? Usually we say, Yulu Ratzoni Merfi Begol Bil Fadech Hashem Tzvi Begali, then you ask everything. But however you want, even if you want to ask the entire vidoy of Yom Kippur at that point, at the end of the day, you can add whatever you want. And I always say you could add anywhere in Shemona Esrei. The Gemara here seems to be giving you guidelines on the better places to add, either in the actual bracha that speaks about what you're looking for, in Shemei Tefillah, or at the end of davening, after Yulu Ratzoni Merfi Begol Bi. Zok the Mishnah.
That's why the video is after the Shemona Esrei.
That's why the video is after Shemona Esrei, right. The Elu Eidein Shel Ovdei Kochavim. These are the holidays of the Ovdei Kochavim. Now, these are not all the statutory, we're just going to call them statutory holidays. These are not all the statutory holidays, but these are some of the holidays. Maybe these are the Roman holidays, but these are the holidays of the Ovdei Kochavim, in which case, based on what we've said until now, one could not do business with them for 3 days before, and according to some, for 3 days after. Kalenda, Visatranura, Vikartisim. So we saw the first two. We never saw Kartisim. What else? V'yom Genusia Shel Malchayim, the day of Genusia, which we'll see what that means. V'yom Haleda, not just the day of the birth, but the anniversary of the birth of their king. V'yom Hamisa, or kings, and the day of death, the anniversary of the day of death of their kings. Divrei Rabbi Meir. The Chachamim clarify and say, Kol misa sheyesh basreifa yesh ba'avodas kochavim, v'she'ein basreifa ein ba'avodas kochavim. You don't have to go ahead and be machmer for all of the anniversaries of the death, right? In the United States, have a lot of different holidays, Martin Luther King Day and all these different days. You don't have to be choshesh for every single one with death. The only time you have to be choshesh is if it was a really, really important death. What do you mean? There might be a holiday for a guy who wasn't really, really important. What does that mean? You'll see based on the Melech, that if they burnt all of his personal possessions at the time of his death, that's what the Sreifa means, then we know that he was a chashav person, and therefore every single year on the anniversary of his death, we know that they're going to serve Avodah Zara and they're going to bring korbanos in his name. But says the Chachamim that if they didn't burn his possessions at the time of his death, he's not in the class of the Chashuv, and therefore you don't have to be Choshesh that on the holidays commemorating his anniversary of his death, you don't have to be Choshesh that they're going to actually bring Korbanos and serve the Avodah Zara on those days. Aval, now we're going to switch to the personal days. So we have the national stat days, we have the ones that are a little bit lower, now we have the personal holidays. Aval Yom Tiklacha Zekeno Ubelo Riso. You have times where they would grow out their beard, and then they would cut their beard, and they would make a day of happiness, and they would bring Korbanos Avodah Zara. Also, they would get haircuts, and they would always leave a little piece. Some people would leave a piece in the back of their hair for a few months or for a few years, and then they would cut off the ponytail, and then they would cut off, it's a ponytail without the rest of their hair, then they would cut off that ponytail, and then they would make a holiday. V'yom sha'alabo min hayam, if somebody came and was saved from a dangerous situation, v'yom shi'atzim beis asurin, interesting, similar to our birchas hagomel, ve'ovei kochavim sha'asem mishtel libno, and if a non-Jew, if an ovei kochavim makes a wedding for his son, on that day, eino asur ela osor hayom ve'osor ish bilvad. Now those don't become national holidays, but for that specific person, on that specific day, or on the anniversary of that date, whichever one it is, so on those days you cannot do business with that specific person on that specific day, because you're worried that he's going to go ahead and serve Avodah Zara, thank him for doing the business with you, and or use your korban in the process. Amar Rav Chanan Barava Klanda Ches Yamim Achar Tekufa Satranura Ches Yamim Lifnei Tekufa. The calendar, as we said, is the 8 days before the winter solstice, and the Satranura is this 8 days after. First you have the Achor, the calendar, then Vakedem is the Satranura. Turn Rabbanan.
You said it opposite,
What?
You read it opposite.
Calendar is the Ches Yamim after, and the Satranura is the Ches Yamim Lifnei.
Calendar says Yomim. Okay.
Yeah, and the Simanecha is Achor. If you want to remember, if you know the calendar, maybe I read it the other way. If you know the calendar is the first one in the list, you'll know that Achor Vakedem Sartani. Tana Rabbanan. Lefi Shara Adam Harishon Yom Shetismaid V'Holech. Very fascinating. So what happened? Shetitmad. What?
The day was getting shorter.
Shemitmait. No? Mitmait. Oh, sorry. Shh. Got everything here. Got the grammaticians and everything. Thank you. Lefisha ra adam arishon yom shemitma'et. Correct? Good. Yom shemitma'et. V'holech, thank you. I do appreciate that. So when Adam saw that the days were getting shorter, so what happened? Amar oili shema b'shvil shesarachti olam chashuch ba'adi v'chozer l'tov avohu v'zohi misa sheniknisa alai min hashamayim. So when the days were getting shorter, right? He had all these beautiful summer days, and all of a sudden the days start getting shorter. And what does he think? I sinned. The world's getting darker, and the world's about to be destroyed, and this is my punishment for sinning. Amad
after he was born, right?
Ches Yamim, well, it depends. We'll see. Assuming that he was
Born Rosh Hashanah, no?
unclear, either he was born Rosh Hashanah or he was born Nisan. That's what it's going to say. But let's say he was born Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah, the days are going to get shorter and shorter and shorter from Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
Now already, when you're in this time of year, a few months or a few weeks ago, now the days are getting really short. He thinks the world is coming to an end. It's just going to keep getting darker, and then you're going to be gone. Says Gemara, Amad v'yashav ches yamim b'tanis v'tfila. So he went for 8 days and he fasted and davened. Kevan sharat kufas teves. Once he saw teves comes and the days are getting longer and longer and longer. V'ra yom shemarich v'holech amar minhago shalolahu. This must be the natural way of creation. Halach v'asa shmona yamim tovim l'shana ha'acheres asan le'elu yamim tovim. So he made them for 8 days of yantiv. The next year, he made the 8 and the 8 both into Yamim Tovim. The original 8 that he had fasted, and the 8 afterwards, he made into Yamim Tovim. Who kavam l'shem shamayim? Fascinating. He was koveh 8 and 8 for Shem Shamayim. V'hem kavam l'shem avodas kochavim. They were also koveh 8 and 8 for the calendar and the Satranura, but they were koveh at l'shem avodas kochavim. I was saying in the first year, people wanted to say this is Hanukkah, and every religion, I thought, interestingly, the 8 and 8 would be Sukkot and Pesach. Later on, not necessarily was it exactly the same days, but they do come in the different kufas. I thought it would be fascinating. Yeah, so they thought, somebody suggested maybe it's Hanukkah, but I found interesting that the 8 and 8 of Adam Arishon may have eventually turned into Pesach and Sukkot. Bishlam Alamand Amar.
That we don't keep it in the Goyim. You're saying that the pagans did, and they turned it into a Avodah Zara.
Right.
But we never kept it going.
Maybe, or maybe we do. Again, maybe they turned into other holidays. Maybe it turned into Pesach. Maybe it turned into Hanukkah. Well, it doesn't say that he. 1 second. It doesn't say that Adam fasted either. It says that the first year he fasted, but then he turned them into Yamim Tovim. The first 8 days he fasted. Then he turned all 16 into Yamim Tovim. This is Shlomi's point. This all works if you say that the world was created in Tishrei. He was born in Tishrei, and since he's been born or created, all he sees is the days getting shorter and shorter. He's already seen the long summer days. At the end of the day, now that the days start getting shorter, that means, according to the first opinion, it started happening pretty much right after he sinned. According to this opinion, it took a few months because the days were still getting longer. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, they start to get shorter in the winter, quote unquote. So the Gemara says, no, even if you say he was born in Nisan, at the end of the day, he had never seen them get this short. And when they started to get this short, so then at the end of the day, he started to get very worried. I'd be curious also exactly where Gan Eden was, and right, because we know that different parts of the world have the different seasons and the different days going. Like Australia is the opposite. So it's just interesting to think.
It's in Iraq.
He was out Gan Eden, but where was he?
In Iraq, Babylon.
He was in Babylon, wherever he was. Wherever he was. Okay, wherever he was. So, wherever he was at the end of the day, seemingly, again, the days got shorter and shorter in Tishrei and not in Nisan. Okay. Zok the Gemara. Tona Rabbanan. Yom Shenivr Bo'adam Arishon. Kevan Sheshika Lav Chama Amar Oili Shabishvil Shesarachti Olam Chashach Badi V'yatz Olam Tov V'vo V'zoim Misa Shenikansa Lai Min Hashmayim. So this is adding another layer. This is saying before he even sinned, the first day, or maybe even this is after the sin, but when the day was going down, after the sin, it was already set. It was setting the sun. The sun is setting, and he figured that it must be that the world is over. But it's just fascinating. That means that he survived the first sunset. And then when the days started getting shorter, he still thought, okay, maybe now the world's coming to an end. Like he was always worried about the world coming to an end because he didn't know any. So, no, he wasn't a pessimist. He just...
he knew he sinned.
No experience.
He knew that he sinned. He didn't know it's right. He knew that he sinned.
He never saw sunrise, he never saw sunset.
Right. So the first day it's the first time he sees sunset. We think sunset's beautiful. He thinks sunset means that the world is coming to an end. And Chava was crying next to him. Kevan sha'ala amar hashachar amar minhago shalom hu amad vehikriv shor shekarnav kodmin lifarsosav. When sunrise came, he was so happy that the world is not over, and he went ahead and he was makriv a shore whose horns preceded the hooves. Shenemar vatitav lashem mishor par makrin mafris. Very, very interesting. That's from Tehillim. Now, Rashi explains, what does it mean, horns preceded the hooves? Mando, can you shut the door, please? What does it mean that the horns preceded the hooves? It means, in general, when a shore is born, the hooves are there, and the horn grows later. Over here, Rashi points out, I just found it to be an interesting Rashi. Look to the right. Shekarnosav kodmas il parsosav de amar mar. Komase bereshis bekomasa nivru shorim karnav megudalim. When things were born or when they were created in their most mature state. V'kevan sheyatza rosho tchila nimsu karnosav kodmos leparsosav. How was a shore created? Out of the ground, but where did it come from? It came head first. So it came head first, not feet first. Interesting. It came head first, not feet first. That's why when the head came out first, you saw the horn, and only then did the hooves come out afterwards.
You need the horn to dig out. Probably.
Okay.
That's why he was born.
It doesn't say that.
So he gave a shore.
Darwin.
I want to read your chidushim when they come out. I want the first copy, and I want it to be signed before it gets thrown into cherem. I want to see. I want to get a copy. Rabbi Yehuda Amar.
You said it came from the ground. You said that.
I know.
So he needs the horn to dig.
So he uses the horn. He gets out, and then he brought one of those shores.
I thought you pulled him out by the horn.
Maybe I'm going to stay here. I think I enjoy this more than holiday. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel. I'm sorry. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Shor shehikriv adam harishon. Karen Achas Haisalo B'mitzcho. Interesting. So now Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is saying that not only was this shore born with its horns, it was born with one horn. It was a unicorn. Shenemar V'tito L'Hashem Mishor Par Makrin Mafris. Makrin Tarte Mashma. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Makrin means two. Amar of Nachman Bar Yitzchak Mikeren Ksiv. You can read it with one. Therefore, there's a machlokas. Either way, it was born with the horn first, but was it born with one horn or two horns? Amar, or Ba'i, says Mesoras Hashas. Ba'i Rav Masna. Rav Masna asked the following question. Romi sha'asta klanda v'chol hayaros hasmuchos la mishtabos la osan hayaros asuros umutaros. Zak Rashi, Romi sha'asta klanda tiknu osa yom ha'akiv zvachim. We said Rome made this holiday called klanda, and they were makriv to the Oves Kochavim. V'chol hayaros hasmuchos la Romi. There were other countries that were next to Rome that didn't hold to the same statutory holidays. Ki'ilu, we have Ontario statutory holidays, and Quebec City has their own. So they have the things that have their own statutory holidays. They didn't necessarily follow these holidays, especially these pagan holidays of Rome. However, Yodin anu shehein mishtabos lo leromi litein hamas ulahavilan kol tzarchen. Even though they didn't keep the holidays, they still pay taxes, and they would go ahead and they would be mishabe to them. It would be ki'ilu, I don't know, ki'ilu, let's say Puerto Rico. If Puerto Rico pays taxes to the United States of America, they don't necessarily, supposed to pay taxes to the United States of America, they don't necessarily have the same holidays as the United States of America. They have their own holidays. So they're meshubat on one hand, they pay taxes on one hand, but they don't necessarily have the same holidays. So it's interesting. Now you're not allowed to do business with these Ovdei Kochavim 3 days before their holidays, before Rome's holidays. You can't do business with Rome. Can you do business with the countries that aren't keeping the same holidays, but are that are meshubat to Rome? What's the question? Rashi, Aval osana yaros ein osin klanda. Mihave aser lases velases himayim. Why, since they're meshubat to Rome, dinema hoel mishubadas Romi yeshlam amasha in konin achshav yaviu leromi lakriva b'nei Romi. They're always giving presents. They're always giving taxes to Rome. So what are they going to do? They're going to bring this animal or this money, and they're going to bring it to Rome, and they're going to be makavir on their holidays. That's the shaila of the Gemara. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Amar klanda asura lakoli. Rabbi Yochanan Amar ein asura elalav del bilvad. Rabbi Yeshua says yes, it's asur. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan says no, we're not worried that this is going to happen. Tana kavase to Rabbi Yochanan. We have a brisa that supports Rabbi Yochanan that it's only Rome itself that's going to be asur, but not the surrounding countries. Says the Gemara, Afapisha Romi Asta Klanda v'chol hayaros hasmuchos hamishtabos la hi atzma ein asura ela lovdei bilvad. That's the clear brisa that supports Rabbi Yochanan, only Rome and not the countries around Rome. Derech Agav, the Gemara brings the end of that brisa. Satranalia v'kartasim v'yom genusya shal malchayim v'yom shemaholach bo melech lefanav asur achar mutter. Just adding again that the days, according to this price, like we said earlier, the 3 days are 3 days before, but not after. As we said, we have another brisa that supports Rabbi Yochanan that only Rome and not the surrounding cities that are Meshubat Rome. This is talking about a personal holiday. What's the proof? A personal holiday, as we said, we said in our Mishnah that guy and that day is asur, but there's no isur about anybody else. What does that have to do with Rome and its surrounding cities? Bishlama osu hayom. I understand why you need to tell me that you can't do business with a guy on that specific day, lafuke lefanav ula'acharav, to exclude the fact that even that guy who has a personal holiday and you can only not do business with him, it's only on that day, not on the day before, not on the day afterwards. Ela osu aish lafuke mai. What are you telling me when you tell me that when a guy has a personal holiday, because he got a haircut, he makes a personal holiday to avodas kochavim? I understand why you need to tell me oso hayom, because you might think it might be the day before or the day after. What do you mean oso aish? Shkoyach, what do you think we're going to do? The whole shul is going to make a personal holiday because one guy got a haircut or one guy left a ponytail? Says the Gemara, rather, what must it mean? Lav lafuke mishabdav. It must be that if this guy has personal servants, if he has people that pay him taxes, whatever, he has personal servants, they're not mishuba to this holiday. We don't have to be choshesh and not do business with all of his mishubadim as well. Shma mina, that when you take it to a national level now, and you have Rome, it would be the same thing, that we're only worried about Rome, and we're not worried about all of the countries around Rome that are mishuba to Rome. Zok the Gemara, Tanya, Rabbi Yishmael Omer, Yisrael shebechutz laaretz ovdei avodas kochavim b'tarin. This is interesting. We say over here that Yisrael, who lives in the diaspora, us, we serve avodah zara even b'tara. Keitzad, how do you know this? Ovei kochavim she'asim mishte libno. How do we serve avodah zara b'tara with the right intentions? Quote unquote means we have the right intentions, but we're still serving avodah zara without even realizing it. Because if our non-Jewish neighbor, our ovei kochavim neighbor makes a mishta, makes a wedding, and he invites us, v'zimein kol hayehudim shebeiro, afal pisha ochlim mishalan v'shosim mishalan. Even if we only eat the kosher food, what does it sound like? The Purim story. If we only eat the kosher food, V'shama shelahen omei lifnei, and we make sure that we have our own waiters and we have no problem with the ayin nesach. Don't worry, we'll bring our own food. Says the Gemara, we're still serving avodah zarah. Fascinating. Why? The Canaan is going to call you, and you're eating from his avodah zarah. Says the Gemara, I understand. Why you say that if we go to the wedding and eat our own kosher food, it's keilu we ate the food from the avodah zarah? Maybe it's only asur once we actually eat the food from the avodah zarah. Says the Gemara, no. Amar Rava, read the pasuk. What it just said that you eat from the zivcho? What does it mean? My v'kara lecha mishas kriya. From the time that they invite you and you go to the party, you're over the isser, and it's keilu you were makriv el avodah zarah. So when we go to our ovdei kochavim in the diaspora, it's interesting because it seems like in Eretz Yisrael, even though I think the Gemara earlier said that in Eretz Yisrael there are even more ovdei kochavim, but it sounds like at least in Eretz Yisrael they know the separation. They're not going to go to the party of their next door neighbor ovdei kochavim. In the diaspora, where we blur the line sometimes, we're going to go to the party. Just going to the party itself is keilu achlu mizivchei mesim, even without eating from the zivchei mesim. I will not mention anything. Hilkach, but it is a kasha. No, it's a question. This is holiday parties and the like. Might be halacha l'maisa, might be a real kasha. Again, we're assuming, though, according to many contemporary poskim, that today there is no such thing as the ovdei avodah zarah. So if that party is not,
what if the Jew makes the party for the Goyish workers?
Again, so it might be a little bit different. The whole chashash is that they can be serving avodah zarah at the party. Is that they can be serving? But if they're not serving avodah zarah at the party, and especially if the Jew makes the party, it's not going to be. But the chashash here is that they're going to be serving avodah zarah at the party. And when we go, so we're sort of serving avodah zarah without actually serving avodah zarah. So therefore, hilkach, based on this, kol tlos and yomin, for 30 days after your neighbor makes a wedding for his son. We have Shever Brachos. We assume that their service of Avodah Zarah continues for 30 days after the wedding. Therefore, if he invites you for dinner, I know you couldn't make it to my son's wedding, but please come over, let's have a l'chaim, let's have a dinner one night, I'll get you only kosher food and plastic plates and everything. You still can't go because we assume that he's serving Avodah Zarah in the house at the time, and you're involved in a suda for Avodah Zarah. Mikan ve'elach, after 30 days, if he invites you over and says, come over, let's have dinner for my son, wedding, you still can't go. Now again, this is not necessarily l'chadchila, you should be going over and having meal, but the point is that mitzad avodah zarah, after 30 days you can assume that he's no longer thinking about the wedding, and i.e., therefore, it's not about thinking about the wedding, therefore he's no longer serving avodah zarah. Right, he says, right, but on the second line, v'chein lo amar lo, just look at Rashi, bein lo amar lo, mistama lehilula mechavein vas, for the first 30 days, dechol yomei hilula makriv lavodas kochavim. That's the chashash. Says the Gemara. So again, within 30 days, definitely can't participate. After 30 days, if he says it's for the wedding, you still can't go. If he says nothing, if it's not, you assume it's not for the wedding, and he won't be serving avodah zarah. How long can he tell you for the wedding? Does that mean if he tells you for the wedding 3 years later, I want you to come over. Remember, we never made a l'chaim for the wedding 3 years ago. So at the end of the day, come see the video. Let's make a l'chaim. No. After 12 months, he's not serving avodah zarah anymore. He can only serve so much avodah zarah. After 12 months, if he says a year and a half later, I want you to come over for the wedding, even though we never had a l'chaim, you can assume that he's not being makriv korbanos in the back in honor of the wedding still. Says the Gemara, from the beginning, when is it asur? That means the Gemara is assuming now that even before the wedding it'll be asur, because he's already serving avodah zarah, and he's already praising HaKadosh Baruch. He's already praising his HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the wedding. Amar Rav Papa Mishmeder, when does that start? Michiramu sare be'asinti. Once they put the barley in the vat to make the beer, i.e. the wedding preparations, that's when we're choshesh. It's just fascinating to think about that in halacha we have equivalent things. We have equivalent halachas when it comes to us preparing for weddings, right, in Kedushin, and then preparing for weddings. It's just interesting that there's so much the same and so much different. Zak the Gemara,
like 30 days a year.
Is it okay after 12 months? That means he sounds like after 12 months, even if he says, come over, we're never at a l'chaim for the wedding, you don't have to assume that he's serving avodah zarah after the 12 months in honor of the wedding, and therefore you can go over. Rabbi Yitzchak went over to his neighbor's house after 12 months who wanted to have a l'chaim with him, and I guess he felt it was important for Eva. And he heard that he was still serving avodah zarah, and he was praying to the avodah zarah in honor of the wedding. That was a year and a half ago. And therefore he didn't even eat, and he probably left because we see that you can't even stay at the party, you can't even stay there. Shani Rav Yitzchak, Breda Rav Misharshia, de Adam Chashafu. Different ways to understand this. Some, Rashi understands that he was an Adam Chashav, and therefore even after a year, since What? Rav Yitzchak was an Adam Chashuv, and therefore, after a year, when he came over to the neighbor's house, the neighbor was serving Avodah Zarah in honor of the wedding because he was so happy that he was able to go ahead and celebrate the wedding even a year and a half later with such a special man. The Pashup Shah would be what? He's an Adam Chashuv that really after 12 months there is no Chashash. But he's an Adam Chashuv that he was Machmir on himself. That's what we could say. I like the first Pshat better because the second Pshat, yes, he's an Adam Chashuv, but the problem is that it clearly says in the story that the guy was serving Avodah Zarah. So it sounds like to say he's an Adam Chashuv, he was Machmir on himself. What do you mean he was Machmir on himself? The guy was clearly being Odi, he was clearly serving Avodah Zarah. So Pshat is, he was serving Avodah Zarah. Most normal people don't serve Avodah Zarah after 12 months in honor of the wedding. But when an Adam Chashuv, if the president comes over to have a l'chaim with you 3 years after the wedding, so at the end of the day, you're still going to serve Avodah Zarah in honor of the wedding. Zok the Gemara, Vik Kartasim, my Kartasim, Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, what's this festival that you can't, it's one of the Eidim Shalahem, and therefore you can't do business 3 days before. Yom Shetafsa Bo Romi Malchus, the day that Rome grabbed the kingship. Vatanya, there were 2 days that they grabbed the kingship. Kartasim, Yom Shetafsa Bo Romi Malchus. There was Kartasim, and there was the day that they grabbed the Malchus. So which one is it? Amar Rav Yosef, there were really two, and both of them are holidays. Shtei Tfiso Tafsa Romi. Achas Bimei Cleopatra Malchusa, and the day that they defeated Cleopatra of Egypt. That's the holiday of Kartasim. Ve'achas, and the other holiday is Shetafsa Bimei Yevanim, when they defeated the Greeks and they basically took over the entire world. Listen to this, very interesting. Dechiasa Rav Dimi Amar Tasanu Trey Karve Avdu Rome Behadi Yevani V'lo Yachluluhu Ad Dishtafinhu L'Yisrael Be'adayu. 32 battles Rome had with Greece, and they couldn't defeat them until they partnered with the Jewish people. And what happened? And this is the deal that Rome made with the Jews. Obviously, they reneged on the deal. But at the time, they made a deal. If we ultimately, after winning the war, take the king from us, from Rome, we're going to appoint the governors from you, the Jewish people. If the king comes from you, from us will be the governors. So Rome sent to Yavan. Till now, we've been fighting just a physical battle, and clearly nobody's winning. Let's have an intellectual battle now. Let me ask you the following question, says Rome. Margalis ve'evan tova ezamen yaseh bas lechaver. If you have a pearl and a nice evan, which one becomes the setting and which one becomes the stone? Do you use the pearl or do you use the Evan Tova? Which is nicer? Shalchlu Margalis Evan Tova. The Evan Tova is nicer, therefore use the Margalis as the setting and the Evan Tova as the stone. Evan Tova ve'enach ezamehen yaseh bas lechavero. If you have an Evan Tova and a gem, which one is nicer? Evan Tova le'enach. The Evan Tova is not as nice, therefore the gem becomes the piece on top, and the Evan Tova becomes the basis. Which is more important, a gem or Sefer Torah? Einach l'Sefer Torah. The Sefer Torah is more important, and the Einach becomes the basis. Shalchu lehu. So they said back to Yavan, Imkain Anan Sefer Torah Gaban v'Yisrael Badan. We have a Sefer Torah with us. We have the Jewish people. Seemingly they were playing mind games with them. Kafuluhu, and therefore they were able to go ahead and defeat Yavan. Says the Gemara, Esrin v'Shishanin Kamuluhu behem Ninusa behada Yisrael. For 26 years they kept their promise to the Jewish people. Mikan ve'elach ishtabdu behu. From 26 years, after 26 years, they changed their mind and they were mishabe the Jewish people. Meikara my darash ulesov my darash. Where do you see a drasha that this would happen? Meikara darash from the drasha from Esav. What does Esav say? Nisa v'neilecha v'elcha l'negdecha will go together. What does Yaakov say at the end? Ulesov darash yavar na'adoni lifnei avdo. We see at the end that they were basically misnabe to the idea that originally they would walk together, and later on, Esav would walk ahead. Esrin v'shishnin.
Is this factual?
This is just a drasha that we can learn.
But did Am Yisrael fight with Rome against the Greeks as an alliance? I never heard of this.
Again, I'm not sure that they actually fought, but they had an alliance.
During the Maccabean revolt, at one point, Rome sides with
the Maccabees?
It's interesting.
It fights the Greeks.
Esrin v'shishnin dekamu behem nusa b'ad Yisrael minalan. Where do we see that there were 26 years? And honestly, this is the only part of the Gemara. I understand what the Gemara is saying. I didn't see from the calculation. Maybe you do. I didn't see how it answers a question. I understand the next part of the Gemara, but the Gemara seems to be proving from this next interesting point that there were 26 years that they were together. And I don't see it from the Gemara itself, and I didn't see Rashi say anything about it either. But let's see what the Gemara continues. Damar of Kahana, Kishachala Rabbi Shmuel bar Yossi, when Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, was sick, Shalchule, they said to him, Rabbi Shmuel, please Amar lanu shnayim v'gimel dvarim shamart lanu mishum avicha. Please tell us 2 or 3 things that your father Rabbi Yossi used to say. Amar lahu, so he used to say the following: Me'al shmonim shana kodem shenechrav habayis pashta malchus harisha Yisrael. 180 years before the destruction of the second temple, the Risha, the Romans, ruled over Yisrael. Pei shana ad lo charav habayis. 80 years before the destruction, gazru tomal eretz ha'amim v'aklei zechuches. Since there were so many Romans around, so the Chazal were gozer that there's going to be tumah on the eretz ha'amim because the goyim didn't mark their graves, so you have to be worried that everywhere there's a dead body. V'aklei zechuches, and they were also gozer, as we see in elsewhere in the Gemara, they were gozer on glass being tamei. Mem shana ad lo charav habayis galso Sanhedrin v'yashula b'chanos. 40 years before the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash in 70. So the Sanhedrin exiled themselves from the Lishkas HaGazis to another place in Har HaBayis called the Chanos. Lemay Hilchasa, what's the practical ramifications that they left the Lishkas HaGazis? Am Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi lomar shelo danu dinei knasos, to tell us that they stopped being done dinei knasos. Because as Rashi tells us, dinei knasos, the different examples it says, Ones umefatu shloshim shalevet shenit natayra katzva achas liyakar lizolel me'achas liyashu b'lishkas hagazis lo danu ubatlu dinei knasos. Once they left the lishkas hagazis, dinei knasos were gone. Dechsib b'tashlumei kefel shehu knas asher yarshiun elokim. It needs to be Asher Yashiyun Elokim, and over here, once the Sanhedrin leaves, they no longer have the real smicha and Asher Yashiyun Elokim. The Gemara is going to reject this in 1 second. Dinei Knasos Al Kadaita. You think that they got rid of Dinei Knasos, that people stopped doing Dinei Knasos? We see that later on, there actually were Dinei Knasos even after the destruction of the temple. You seem to imply over here that at the time that the Sanhedrin left, they no longer had Knasos in Klal Yisrael. Where do you see this? Baram indeed Zachar, so Aish Latov. Let's remember him for good. Who? Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Shemo. What did he do? Shel Malayhu Nishtachu Dinei Knasos Mizrael. It wasn't for him, they would have forgotten Knasos in Israel. Nishtachu? What do you mean they would have forgotten? Ligrisinu, they would have just learned it. Ella, no. Bitlu Dinei Knasos Mizrael. It would have been banned, it would have been done from Israel. Why? Shagazra Malchus Harisha because the Malchus Arisha made Gzeira, Kol HaSomech Yehareg, anybody who gets smicha will be killed, V'Kol HaNismach Yehareg, anybody who gives smicha, anybody who gets smicha, Ir Shesomchim Batecharav, any ear that has smicha in it, Utchum Shesomchim Bo, and if you have any tchum, even 2,000 amos outside of the city, we're going to destroy Yakar, the whole city. And if you can't give smicha, you can't have knasos. He saved it. How did he save it? By giving smicha. Ma'asa Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, halach v'yasha bein shnei harim gedolim, between 2 big mountains, bein shtei ayaros gedolos, between 2 big cities, bein beis chumei Shabbos, between 2 tchum Shabbos, bein usha l'sharfa'am, 2 places, v'samach sham chamishas geni. What did he do? He wanted to outsmart the Romans. So he said, I'm going to stay far outside of the tchum of any 2 cities, and therefore at the end of the day, he'll be outside the tchum. So if he's caught, they're not going to destroy, according to their gezerah, they're not going to destroy the city, they're not going to destroy the tchum, and he's going to give the smicha, and by giving the smicha, he's going to be able to continue the tradition to be able to go ahead and be din in dinei knasos. What do you see here, though? He came after the second destruction. It's clear that at the time that the Sanhedrin moved from the Lishkas HaGazis, they were still being done in dinei knasos. That's why we're bringing this story. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemur, those were the 5 that he gave smicha to. For Rav Avya, Mosif Afra ben Nechemiah. Some say even Rav Nechemiah got smicha. Kevan sheikira b'hamoyvin. Eventually the Romans caught him. Amar lahem. So he said to his students, Banai rutsu, run away. Amru lo, Rabbi v'atomate elecha. What are you going to do? Amar lahem, hareini muta lifneim ke'evan she'en lahofchen. I'm going to be like a rock that can't be turned over. Now, it's unclear if he was just too old to run away, or if Imamish didn't want to run away because at the end of the day, he wanted to protect his students and let his students be able to run away. Amru, they said, Lo zazu misham at shenatzu legufo gimel meas lulinios shel barzel v'asru legufo kekivra. Wow. They made himself into a sieve. They pierced him with 300 swords, and they made his body into a sieve, and seemingly the other students that he gave smicha to got away. But again,
he's one of the 10, right?
Seemingly. But again, it seems that I'm not sure, but for our purposes, the point is that you see that there clearly was still dinei knasos even after the Lishkas HaGazis. So what was the Hilchasa? So what changed when the Sanhedrin left the Lishkas HaGazis? It wasn't that the dinei knasos was gone, but rather dinei nefashos were gone. I'm Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak lo tema dinei knasos ela shelo danu dinei nefashos. It can only be done dinei nefashos. What does that mean? Done dinei nefashos. That means, as Rashi says, not only in the Sanhedrin, but even in the Yaros, even in the other cities, you can only be done dinei nefashos when there's an Sanhedrin. My time, let's see. since they saw there were a lot of Rotzchem, I'm not exactly sure why. Rashi says, he doesn't say why, but at the time of this Roman Shibud, there were a lot of Rotzchem. Why were there a lot of Rotzchem? What do you mean?
Josephus talks about these brigands who went around and stabbing people.
The Jews. Why did they do that? Just because they were afraid of dying? I'm right. So I wasn't sure either. But at the time of this Roman subjugation, there were a lot of Jews that were killing other Jews and other people. V'lo yachli l'meidan, and there wasn't enough space to even bring them all to trial. Fascinating. Amr mutav nigle mimakom lamakom yechido l'chayvu. So Sanhedrin says, let's leave in order to go ahead and not be mechayiv everybody misa. We need the makom of the Sanhedrin in order to have dinei nefashos. Let's read Rashi here. So we won't be able to be mechayiv rotzim kala. De'ein dana dinei nefashos afilu b'Sanhedrin ketana shebechol ir ela bisman sha'isa Sanhedrin gedola b'yeshivaso v'makom amiyuchala v'hu lishkas hagazis. Because even in the cities where you had 23, where you had the Sanhedrin ketanas, which could judge dinei nefashos, when the Lishkas Agazis is not occupied by the main Sanhedrin, even the smaller ones don't have the ability. So therefore, when you see over here that when they moved out of the Lishkas Agazis, based on Hamakom Ahu, that the Makom is Gorein, when they moved out, Lemai Hilchasa, what was the Hilchasa? What was the Nafkamina? Who cares that they moved out? Besides that, obviously we were upset that they moved out and the Romans were coming, but they moved out, and at that point going forward till after the destruction, seemingly, or really for a long time, they could no longer be done dinei nefashos, not only in the Sanhedrin, but even in the smaller places. Again, the only part of the Gemara that I'm not clear about is I don't see anything here about the 26 years. I don't see anything about the proof. It's 40 years. Does he bring anything about the 26 years?
No, I think it continues on the next dot.
Oh, okay. I didn't get there yet. Okay. Shkoyach, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Nicely done, Roland.
Have a nice holiday.